Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Immersive Engineering, the arc furnace. This here is the arc furnace. As you can see, it's quite a large and complex machine. It may have a few extra bits and bobs, just ignore all the conveyor belts and you'll have the machine underneath. I'll be showing you today how this functions, how best to make it work for you, and what you might need in order to get it going. So let's start off with something a bit simpler. First and foremost, you're going to need a lot of materials. Allow me to demonstrate just how many. If I go to the in your manual, you look under heavy machinery and arc furnace, it will show you here you need a lot of materials. Look at all this. 14 steel sheet metal slabs, steel. Oh my gosh. And 27 reinforced blast bricks. Wow. Lots of stuff that you're going to need for this. It's a very expensive machine to make, to run, and to use. Also, it's got a maintenance cost involved as well, but it is very beneficial. If you have a ton of resources, this thing is just going to make you so endgame it's ridiculous. Now let's start off with a cauldron. Yep, just a simple basic old cauldron. And we're going to surround it with some sheet metal, and we're going to go from there, just kind of creating a little bit of a pattern or design, if you will, that kind of mirrors this. And it's very basic. It kind of looks like a little face. You know, you can put like a couple eyes here and here. But that's not what we're doing. Now, the corners, depending on how you want this to go, you could have your lever on the left or your lever on the right, which is how most of the multi-block structures with Immersive Engineering go. Well, however you want it to go, you just put down your respective steel scaffolding and then followed up with your redstone engineering block here, and then you just continue on with the rest of the build. Now in this case, we're going to just put down a little bit of sheet metal and fill in the other side of that gap, and we're going to fill in a lot. Look at this, blocks of steel are being used. We're doing a stack of 3, but that's not all. No, we're doing a stack of 6 total. Ouch, it's very expensive stuff. More steel sheet metal, which, you know, each one costs a certain amount of stuff here. We're going to put this around, and then we're going to surround it with a heavy engineering block on the back. Then we're going to put a wall of 6 of these light engineering blocks back here. Then we're going to put 2 on top of that, and then from that we're going to have 2 come straight out. So you kind of got this like little, I don't know, kind of a little altar type setup in some ways. We're going to take more of that steel scaffolding and put it on either side of this just to help reinforce it. Take a little bit more of that steel, or where is it, the heavy engineering blocks. We've got to put a couple of those there, top it off with steel sheet metal. Then the same thing on the other side. We've got a couple heavy engineering blocks, and then give it a shoulder pad of steel sheet metal. And you've got the basic frame set up at this point. Now it's just a matter of filling it in with reinforced blast bricks, which the best way to remember is that you're going to at least have 2 deep in a 3x3 area. Of course, that cauldron's kind of in the way there. And then you just fill all that in. So you've got kind of a 3x3 area filled with 2 blocks deep. Then at the top, you just add in an extra layer. The middle layer comes out 2 more blocks. And there you go. That should do it. You then take your hammer and you hit the cauldron. And if you did it right, you get yourself an arc furnace. Look at that. It's nice and pretty. It's not ready to run yet, though. There are certain requirements that you're going to need in this case, and that's what we're going to get into next. In this case, you're probably going to need one of these. It is a engineer's workbench, and if you haven't made one of those yet, you're probably in trouble. You should make one by now. You probably have, though, and you'll have one around. But you're going to want to do one of 2 things, and as I've already shown one of them before, I'm going to show the other. And that involves this little villager here. Hello, Blue. How you doing? For those that don't know, BluSunrise is the maker of this mod. But this guy here is one of the 2 options for what we need to do next. And if you trade with him, over time, he may offer to you a blueprint for an arc furnace electrode, in which case you give him the specified price, get one of those. If you don't know how to trade with villagers, you just trade with them once. They'll do these particle effects, and then within a few seconds, they'll have new trades available. But it's an immersive engineering guy that you need to get. So look for one of these style of houses within a village, and you might find one of these, or you might find them randomly in one of these chests that are, or the crates that are out here, which also might give you a little quick start into immersive engineering. But this is only one of two methods to craft arc furnace electrodes, which are what we need in order for this to run, as well as power and ingredients. And I'm going to show you that with this, let's see here, what we're making is graphite rods. Right here, graphite electrodes, excuse me. The recipe for these, you can also use a metal press with HOP graphite ingots to craft graphite electrodes, which, that's a 50%. So it's not the best way to go about it. But if you use the this here, put your blueprint in there, and you've got this. It says here 4 times HOP graphite ingots. In order to make HOP graphite ingots, you're going to need HOP graphite dust. I've covered this in a previous bit by bit on one of the items there, and in order to make that, you'll need to take some coke dust in an industrial squeezer, and you're going to need some of the seed oil or the oil from that, and or the plant oil from that, and it makes HOP graphite dust. With that, you then smelt it up, and it turns into HOP graphite ingots. You get enough of those, and you should be good to go to make yourself these electrodes. Now, here's the thing. If you put these in here in some weird way, it's not going to work. You need to actually have them all stacked together in one spot. So if you're going to make them, put them in here. And I'm making 3 because you need at least 3 of them. So you're going to want at least 12 of those HOP graphite dust to start. This is just for your initial foray into the arc furnace. You put them in the top here in the GUI, or the user interface, graphical user interface. In order to access that, sometimes in the machine, if you right-click, nothing happens. But if you right-click, like on this cauldron here, or on the actual furnace part back here, you should be able to access the user interface. And that's where the graphite electrodes go. They don't stack too well, so you'll want to keep that in mind. If you make a lot of these, you're going to have some inventory issues. But you'll notice that there's a lot going on with this. I've got power coming into it and so on. Well, let's explain how it's set up before I go into the user interface a little bit more, so that you can better understand what's going on. Right here at the front, this is an output for the results. Let's say this is a furnace overall. So if I put in something like iron ore, it will smelt that and turn it into iron ingots. So they will come to this output here, which is represented by this little output area here. In actuality, it's just these 6 slots. This one here is just for the excess slag that it will produce. Yes, just like a blast furnace, it will produce slag, which you can use for some of this concrete, which is pretty neat stuff, because you walk a little bit faster on it. Well, if anything, it's just nicer stuff. But I do like it. It works well with the color scheme. Now, of course, you've got your redstone engineering block here. That's for your on-off of the lever. So you can turn off your machine if you don't want it to be running. Then in the back, you've got these big plugs in the back, and you've also got this output slot. The output slot is for slag. Excess slag will come out through there if you have some kind of inventory attached to it, or conveyor belt or something of that sort. And here you have multiple inputs for power. Of course, the electrodes at the top, you'll know if they're in there visibly, because they will actually be there. And this, while it's running, will have some physical changes. It will have, like, these will light up. Your electrodes will actually start lighting up as well. It looks really cool. Well, we will have it running shortly. But this thing is a power beast. It really sucks power flat. You don't have to have a lot of power to keep it running. But if you want to use it in the way that it's intended, mass smelting very fast, then you're going to want a lot of power. And in this case, I currently have 2 diesel engines hooked up to it. Whoa, rendering glitch. I don't know what happened there. There we go. It's back again. I just had to reload the world. But I currently have 2 diesel engines that are being fueled with diesel fuel, and they are both hooked up to this just so that it doesn't run flat, because if I had one going, it would actually not be enough energy coming into this. And you know that these things can produce 4,096 IF per tick, and that's quite a lot of stuff. So if you're using this at maximum capacity, you don't have to. I'm just saying, if you want to use it, you got to have a lot of energy going into it. And I currently have 2 of those, and that's more than enough. But as it is, you could just power it with light power, and as long as it has electrodes in the top, an ingredient for it to smelt, and a possible additive, which I'll get into in a moment. Then and some kind of power going in. Eventually, when that power gets to the right mark, it will start using it. And I think it uses about 512 RF per tick, but that's per item that it's smelting. So if you're smelting all these items in here, and there are 12 slots for all of the inputs for stuff to go in, then it's going to be quite a lot. 512 times 12 is about 6,144 IF per tick, somewhere around there. So that's why 2 of these diesel generators is sufficient. If you want to hook up just one diesel generator and some other power source, that would probably do it as well, or even, your power source of choice. But currently, I have at the top inputs. If you look here, there's little blue dots, which usually mean inputs. Obviously, we've got the output here for the ores and stuff when they're done. We've got the output here for the slag. The inputs at the top represent the 2 different sides. They're 2 different inputs this time. They're not the same. And the one on the left is for the incoming ores that are going to be processed. One on the right is for additives. Additives, you only get the 4 slots, remember, because you usually don't do additives. In Immersive Engineering, there is one additive that I am aware of, at least, and that is coke dust. If you put coke dust in an arc furnace over here, actually, let's see if I can get some dust here. Coke dust. You can actually put it in there, and then you put an iron ingot in. You will actually get steel. It will make it because it actually is part blast furnace. Whoops, I just broke that. My bad. But it is part blast furnace. On top of that, on this side, your input for smelting, which is at the top here. As you can see, I have these little conveyor belts going up and in. It looks really cool. Don't worry, I will be using some of this. But it will definitely allow those to go in and all be smelted. I will say something, if you want something smelted quickly, and you have a large amount of them, let's say I have a bunch of ores. Let's grab a stack of gold ore. It's best to spread them out so that they will all cook at once. I'm turning that off because I don't want those to actually cook. But you get the idea, because if I put them all in one slot, it will only cook them one at a time. So it is made for mass production across the grid. Now, therefore, it can be very useful with other stuff. Now, let me fill up my inventory here with a whole lot of ores here that we could potentially make, and I'm going to just start throwing these on here. We're going to do some copper ore, some uranium, some nickel, some silver, some lead, bauxite, iron, gold, and I've got some HOP graphite dust. Let's put that in the additive side. And there we go. Oh, and everything got stuck on the lever there. That's kind of annoying. There we go. And then everything should be going in. And once it gets in there, it should start processing everything as it goes in. Yeah, there you go. And you can see there's a lot of stuff. Now, the HOP graphite dust isn't actually going to do anything because it does need a little something else in there. There we go. Because the HOP graphite dust is used for making the electrodes, which now you can see everything came through. It all popped out, and we've got a whole bunch of these. Now, that HOP graphite dust, you saw it actually went over to this side by accident. That was me. I put it over there by accident. And those are going to go around this side, and it can actually get smelted just like it was in a regular furnace. It'll go in, get smelted really quick, and you can see there's 2 of them, so I'm going to spread them out so it'll go a little bit faster. And it'll get both of those popped out real quick. And it finishes these in about like 5 seconds per smelt. And it does do ore doubling because I put in 2 of everything. But of course, HOP graphite dust does not double. It's just a single item. Now, there are other things I'm going to grab here. And let's get rid of this here. Put all these over. And you see I have coke dust and iron ingots. Now, if I put iron ingots over here, and coke dust over here, you'll see that they will go in. And this is how additives work. additives are things that you smelt together to make something else. Now, coke dust plus iron ingots will yield you steel over time. And you'll notice it's a bit slower in this case. That's because you're making steel. It's supposed to be slow, but this is still a blast furnace. And with that, it's going to eventually make yourself some steel, which is going to pop out, go into here, and you see we now have a couple steel ingots. Now, on top of that, we have some other stuff. I've got copper ingots, nickel grit, so I could toss those in, and you'll see that it's going to try and smelt the nickel into regular nickel ingots because I toss it in that side. Now, if I put it in the other side as an additive, it tries to combine the two together. So therefore, it will make, where is it? Constantan, which is, one of the alloys that you can make with Immersive Engineering. Now, just to show you that this is also extra mod-like, I have glowstone dust, redstone, and some gold ingots. So let's put those in there, and those in there. Oh, look. For those that are familiar with it, this is actually making an alloy that is from Ender.io. And therefore it has a lot of compatibility with other mods. This can be extremely beneficial and one of the key tools that you can use for making things like energetic alloys and whatnot. Now, it's not going to make everything, but it sure does try. So I do recommend that you give this a go because, if anything, it's really cool while it's working. In fact, let me toss a bunch of these in here and we'll spread them out. And you can see that it currently has the electrodes lighting up, and it has a little fire here, which it's pretty darn cool. But you also notice that the electrodes are wearing down. So this is part of the maintenance cost involved with running an arc furnace. Not just RF, but it will also need graphite electrodes replaced over time. And each time that it does a tick, it does remove a little bit. So each time that this bar moves a little bit on any of these, it removes it a little bit. So therefore, there you go. You'll have to do that. Now, if I take one out, everything stops. It is not going to function. You do have to have 3 of them. They don't all have to be at the same integrity. They just have to have 3 of them in there. So if one of them breaks, then you're going to have to get a new set. So if for some reason you took one out and crafted a third one and the other durabilities were less, when one of those ones breaks, the rest of this is all just going to finish out. And so there you go. We now have a whole stack of iron ingots in that very short amount of time. It's been a really, really good and impressive. And I like how I can put the conveyor belts really compact on this machine, and it really seems to work quite well with it. Here it is in its naked style, and then you can always add in stuff. And of course, I've got the slag being fed straight out the back. For instance, allow me to grab some more gold. And we'll just kind of spread this around. And you notice nothing actually starts smelting until I let go of the button. And then it starts smelting everything. And then you see the slag comes out the back because I've got the conveyor belts here. And this is one of the ones that you don't have to have a conveyor belt coming straight out. It actually works coming out sideways if you want. And that can go into whatever storage or processing, auto crafting, etc. that you have set up. So there you go. That is pretty much the arc furnace. It is rather expensive to run and to use, but it can make things go really fast. I mean, that's a whole stack of gold that it's almost done with right now. And if I'd have set this up a little bit easier or better with the spread, it probably would be by now. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's bit by bit on the arc furnace. I know that I really like the Immersive Engineering. We're going to be getting into the excavator next, so stick around and don't go too far. Don't forget to give a like if you enjoyed this video, comment below if you have anything to say, subscribe if you haven't already, and spread the mischief to others if you think they'll enjoy this content. Until next time, folks, I'll see ya.